the Eisenhower box is a fantastic way to actually prioritize, right? Like now, one thing I need you to understand is like there is time management, there's productivity, there's laziness, right? Prioritization when it comes to time management is actually understanding how much time you have, where you're going to place those things that you need to get done. Have you ever noticed that you have so many things to get done that's on your list? And even you probably even tried to write down a full list of things to do. And you look at it and it's so overwhelming. You're like, I only have so much time to get this stuff done. Like I only have I have 2 free hours today. I'm working all day tomorrow. I get off at 9 p.m. and I'm going to be so exhausted. And then have you ever noticed that? Well, how do you prioritize what you should do so that way you at least get some things done if you don't get everything done, right? How do you start to build up some of that productivity? One very crucial thing is efficiency, is stress reduction. And that's one very crucial thing that you get from prioritization, right? Especially utilizing this Eisenhower box. And then lastly, I want to talk about how do you really start to utilize what's urgent versus what's important while categorizing some of those tasks? First step, you need to obviously very much identify what your goals are. You're not going to get anywhere unless you already have these clear short-term and long-term goals. All right, we talked about having daily habits, having a vision, and having a mission, but you need to have very clear goals when you write down, whether they're just goals for the day, right? And then second, start to build those, we all heard it, SMART goals, right? Those specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, or realistic, depending on you. And also timely or time bound or whatever word it is. Like actually build up some of those goals as well. Take a second to figure out, like, on each goal, how do you make it smarter? All right. And then lastly, with identifying your goals, you need to make sure that you're aligning daily tasks, daily habits with those overarching goals. So that way you actually have really good progress and cohesion between everything. Right. So let's just say that you have a goal today let's say that you're a business owner and you have a goal today of making, $12,000 for the day. Well, how are you going to do that? Why is that important? How can you become even more specific? Right. Well, in the first half of the day, you need to make 40% of that $12,000. All right. So in the first half of the day, the first 6 hours of the day, you need to make $4,800. In the second half, you need to make the rest of that money, which is the second half of the day, you need to make $7,200. That right there is smart or specific. Right. And it's also measurable because you now know that you can go and check your reports on how much money you made that day. Perfect. Is it achievable? Well, I mean, if every day before that you made $2,000, okay, maybe that's not achievable unless hey, today's a holiday. People are going to be off of work. They're going to want to come in. I don't know. Let's say you're a photographer. They're off of work. It's the holidays. People are going to want to come take pictures. That means we need to have this, right? Make sure that it's achievable. If that is possible because it's an off day for everybody, it's a holiday and you're still going to be open. Yeah, that might be completely achievable for you. And is that relevant to what your goal is? Is that relevant to what your why is? Because if it's not relevant, it's going to be really hard to stay focused on that goal because it won't be necessary. And then lastly, is that something that you can get done in that time frame? Yeah, maybe you shouldn't try and go for getting 10,000 in the first half of the day. So that way you're sure that you have right. You might need to do some breaking down 40%, 50%, 60% in the first half of the day. Right? Do something that you can also is timely in manner. Right. And then when you start to build up little small goals, like, hey, when this person gets here, I'm going to put this person in this position because they talk to people the best. They can sell people on taking these pictures, on getting higher packages, right? Like actually start to put things in a good place so that way everything's in cohesion. All right. Do that for all of the goals that you have written down. If you do that, the next thing you need to do is actually categorize all of the different tasks for the day that you have, right? So actually get out a planner, make a digital, have some digital planner or some digital way to like have little check marks where you can categorize, well, to this part of the day, or, this piece is going to be self-improvement. Right. So what are the tasks that I can do for today that's in self-improvement? What are the things that I can do today that is in developing others? What are the tasks today that is in, making money, right? Like actually categorizing all of those different tasks, like in a planner or something, is going to help you so much more effectively whenever you actually start to utilize that Eisenhower box. Charming, what is the Eisenhower box? The Eisenhower box is a nice box where it breaks down what's urgent versus what's important. All right. And when it does that, it has 4 different pieces, kind of like a little graph, right? Where on the bottom, you have what's urgent, you have what's not urgent all the way to what's urgent. And then on the y-axis, is going up and down, you have what's not important all the way up to important. 0 is not urgent, not important. The top right is important, urgent. And the great thing about it is when you actually put it on a graph and you plot what task is what, like, is it really, like, how important is it for me to read in the mornings? How is it important for me to read the first thing in the morning? Well, for me, it's not necessarily something that is urgent, but it is very important to me. Why isn't it urgent? I can wake up, I can go do some other things. Maybe I can eat first beforehand because it's not so urgent to me that I read immediately. Right? My life isn't going to be completely thrown off. My day is going to be completely thrown off because I leave enough space for me to actually come back to read. Right? But it is extremely important to me. And so I'm going to plot it on where it's important, but not urgent. Right? Now, let's just say something that is extremely urgent for me is to eat an apple as soon as I finish working out. Why? Because it's good for it's urgent because it's going to save me. And so because of that, now I know, hey, this is something that's urgent and it's also extremely important. Right. And so the beautiful part about his box is based on where you plot what's urgent, what's not important. He tells you there's 4 different things that you can do. You can either do it now, you can either just do whatever that urgent and important thing is because it has very severe consequences afterwards, right? Or let's say it's not urgent, but it is important. Well, pick a time to do it. Schedule that time. That's a part of that time management. Schedule time at the end of the day to do it, right? And then let's talk about what's urgent but not important. Right? How can something be urgent, but really not that important? Well, it needs to get done, but it's not important that you get it done. It's just important that it's just urgent. It needs to actually happen soon. Right? Maybe for you, that's, hey, oh crap, I need to make sure that I book this flight. Why? Because it's going to get more expensive. Yeah, okay, so let me just book this flight. Maybe I can delegate that to somebody else. Maybe I can delegate that, right, to my wife, to my husband, to my spouse, to my travel planner, something like that, to actually get that, like, hey, this is urgent. I need this done, but I can't necessarily do it right now, but it's not as important, right? And then the last piece, things that are not urgent or important, just get rid of it altogether. Just eliminate it, right? And so delegate. Decide when you're going to do something. Delegate and or delete. Eliminate it altogether. That's the Eisenhower box. And it's something that is going to save you so much time and effort, all right, with those high impact tasks versus some of those time fillers. There's a lot of time fillers in your calendar, right? And so what I want you to do when you're planning your day is actually like look at everything, look at all the time slots that you have for like high priority tasks, right? Those high priority tasks that are urgent and important. Give those kind of calendar slots like a color that means urgent. Maybe red, urgent and not important, or urgent and important is red. Like actually color in which parts on the calendar or the planner or like your Google Calendar, things like that. And then actually set realistic time estimates for when you're going to get those important tasks done that are not necessarily urgent. All right. And then also I'm going to say that like a lot of people, they suck at committing, but even more so, a lot of people like they do what's called overcommitting a lot, where when you are overcommitting so much, you expect to get so many things done. It's okay to like actually avoid some of that. You should try to avoid overcommitting to things. You should, yes, push yourself past what you think you can do just a little bit. And then guess what? Now, when you know and you now have changed your capacity for what you can do, now you can commit to a little bit more and a little bit more. All right. But also lastly, is it extremely important to actually schedule breaks, schedule R&R, rest and recuperation into your calendar just to help you with that mental performance. Like to give you that optimal brain power, right? Because if you just have things back to back, calling this person, working on this, going here, doing this thing, if you back to back, yes, you might be very productive in this moment. But how long can you do that? You have to get rest, because if you can maintain that peak mental performance, you're going to be able to do everything so much better, so much more efficiently, with much more quality effort. All right. So I want to make sure you do that. But one other little piece that I want to talk about really quickly is just like, you're going to have a lot of distractions as well. Like when you are trying to prioritize these tasks, and when you are like actually doing the day and you have all these different efforts that you're putting in, there's going to be little pieces of social media. Maybe this email is like this work email, this business email that is actually needed. Maybe that derails you from getting some other things done. Or maybe there's some unexpected tasks that you didn't realize that would come. Maybe you work for somebody, which go become a business owner. Go like stop working for people, right? Maybe you work for someone and they just come and give you all these unexpected tasks. You're going to get derailed. Sometimes you need to, one, figure out ways to minimize them, right? Maybe if you do have a boss that typically does give you random tasks, maybe go to your boss at the beginning of your day. Hey, I know that sometimes there are random things that come up. Is there anything that you foresee happening today based on whatever is going on that I could potentially take on? Also, like if I had a employee that would do that, I would be like, oh man, this person's awesome. I know I can rely on them and to do these things. Maybe I should make more employees that are like that. So maybe I'll stop putting stuff on you and doing it with others, but that's whatever. But also utilize a really good notification management strategy where, let's say that you have you do have a career where you're working by yourself, and I'm sure it's so easy when you are the owner, the boss, the CEO, whatever, for you to get text messages from so many different people. Having so many different text messages from so many different people, and you want to just turn your phone off. You want to just turn and put on do not disturb. Maybe a great notification management method is like having an assistant that filters that kind of stuff for you. And that's something that you can do. It'll take a little bit of time to build that into it. But there's that. Maybe you designate a time to check your phone, right? For me, after every meeting that I have, I got about 2 to 3 minutes to check my phone, and I'm going to look for things and the people that are most important and look at that or see who's called me, right? But having some way to minimize those distractions is going to help you out extremely, to take off a lot of that stress a lot, and so having flexibility in your day is going to be extremely important, as well as you figuring out ways to adapt. All right. And so just make sure at the end of the day, you reflect on what it is that was accomplished that day versus what wasn't, why it wasn't. And like, if you're okay with that, it's because it is important to reflect on what was important, what you actually got done, what was urgent. Did you do all the things that was urgent? Did somebody do all the things that was urgent? So I want to make sure that you try these 3 steps this week. Master your morning, master your why, master prioritization, because down the road, when those obstacles are coming up, you'll be so much more ready, right? And you'll be looking at it as, here's a way to practice these things. Here's a way to practice making sure that my why is strong enough. So I want to tell you, there are going to be things that are going to challenge your why. And an obstacle, it will be a great opportunity to check how, just like it's a gut punch. Gut punch. Yeah, my why wasn't strong enough. Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Right? To see, well, my why wasn't strong enough. Maybe I need to figure out much more. Right? Maybe I didn't start the morning off too well. Maybe I'm just bombarding myself with all these different tasks, right? Overcommitting. And so those are the 3 tips I want you guys to practice this week.